John here, back again with another review, and this is for Fadi. He wanted me to talk about and review Men in Black 2. And this is a film that I did see in the theater way back when. And I don't have the film. I don't own the film. Watching it again, it was just an okay. And even back then when I first saw the movie, I was not too big on the film. I love the first Men in Black. And this one here, it just kind of, I don't know what it was. It just kind of felt a little bit too off the wall and stuff. And, as far as the tone and direction, but I'll get more into that here in a little bit. The plot real quick to the film. So it's been 5 years, has passed, since the retirement and neuralization of Agent K, Tommy Lee Jones's character. Will Smith, Agent J, he needs his partner back because there's a new alien in town, and so he has to reverse the where they wipe out Tommy Lee Jones's memory. So he has to get his memory back and, help out Will Smith, to stop this new alien and save the planet. And that's the plot to the film here. Barry Sonnenfeld, returns to direct. He directed the first Men in Black. Before that, he directed The Addams Family. That came out back in 91. He also directed Get Shorty. And later on, he directed Men in Black 3. The cast here, Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith, I think, they still have that chemistry. Like, after when Tommy Lee Jones gets his memory back, it's like, okay, now we're back to the first movie. They still have that banter. They still have that rapport. Zip Torn, he returns the Zed. He's fine. The villains here, you have the main villain who is played by Laura Flynn Boyle. And, really, she didn't do anything for me. When I look at the first Men in Black, there's a reason why the cockroach, is a villain that people still remember to this day. He's a very memorable villain. And here it's like, maybe the film here tried to make it really like the cartoon. And that's my issue with this film here. And I like the cartoon, but maybe it didn't really need to be the cartoon. Like, it tries, the film, in regards to the tone and overall direction, tries to be like the cartoon. And I don't know if it really needed to be. And I talked about this in my recent stream with Fabio, that, the first Men in Black, and he said it, that it had a little bit more edge. And here it's like they kind of played a little bit more sillier, again, in terms of the execution. But getting back to the cast, you have, Johnny Knoxville as this character Scrad, who has like a separate, like he has two heads, and the other head, pops out from the back. And, Johnny Knoxville, I like, but I did not like this character. Honestly, the more I think about it, really, let's just say this, hypothetical. If Johnny Knoxville was the main villain here, and if he played it seriously, not have like a second head come out the back, but if he was like an alien that was intimidating, I think he could pull it off. But not as this kind of goofy secondary villain. Rosario Dawson's in here as the character of Laura, which, her character's tied to the plot. And I like Rosario Dawson, which I am jealous of the worms in this movie, that they got to play Twister with Rosario Dawson. So that's another reason why I'm not a fan of this movie, because I am jealous of those guys. Damn it. Those worm guys got to play, Twister with Rosario Dawson. But, I like Rosario Dawson. Tony Shalhoub, he comes back as the character Jeeves. Patrick Warburton, he's like a partner that is in training in the beginning of the film. And you've seen him before, in Seinfeld and stuff. David Cross is in here, which he was in the first movie, but he plays a different character here. Now, if I get to stuff about the film, in the beginning where Will Smith is training Patrick Warburton, and you go into this sequence with the subway and this worm creature in the subway, and I'm like, I didn't really care for that. Rosario Dawson, her character's introduced, and they kind of, they established the villain here, early on in the film. And, Frank the Pug is utilized a little bit more here in the film, where in the first movie he has one scene, but here he's in it quite a bit, which I don't know if he really needed Frank the Pug more. But Tommy Lee Jones, they kind of wait a little bit to get to his scenes where Will Smith, basically Tommy Lee Jones' character is working at a post office, and he's trying to help Kay remember. And those scenes I just didn't really care about. I didn't care about trying to restore Kay's memory, and the aliens that are working in the post office, which Kay didn't know. He may have had an idea, but I just didn't like this whole thing of, Tom Lee Jones, working for the post office. And it's like you could look at Tom Lee Jones' expression like, why am I here? Why am I doing this movie? And I love Tom Lee Jones. And again, it's only later when he gets his memory back that I'm like, okay, now we have, Kay and Jay together. I like their chemistry. And we're back to the first movie, but I think it's just by that point in the film, it's kind of like you've passed the point of, not going back and taking things a little bit more seriously. But you have basically the main villain of the film takes over HQ, and Will Smith, has to come up with a plan to stop the villain here. At the same time, trying to help restore Kay's memory. And you have Tony Shalhoub. He returns here as Jeeves, and he puts Kay in this machine to get his memory back. And I mean, it's just, you got some stuff here. I mean, really, it's kind of played up for comedy. And what I mean is, where the first movie had more of a serious tone. There was a little bit of comedy there, but it didn't overtake the tone of the movie. Where here it's like, we have to show off a little bit more of the aliens. We have to inject a little bit more of the humor, inject a little bit more of the silliness of it, and I just didn't like it. And that's kind of why, watching this film again, the only thing I can really give the film, there's some good practical makeup effects by Rick Baker. When you see some of the practical aliens and stuff. The CGI I didn't really care for. Like I said, I didn't really care for the subway sequence and the worm that lives in the subway, and that whole bit in the beginning I didn't like. And, by the end, Will Smith, has to stop the villain here. Tommy Lee Jones is tangled up by the villain, and they stop the villains. And I mean, there's not, and it was just kind of rewatching this movie again. I mean, I've seen it before. Like, I saw it when it came out, and I know I've seen it before, like on television and stuff since then. And rewatching it again, I'm just not a fan of this movie. I mean, at best, I would say it's okay, but for me, I thought Men in Black 3 did it a little bit better. I thought, it kind of, okay, with the third movie, we're kind of getting back to the first movie. I'm not saying that it fully, in terms of the overall feel, but I think it took it a little bit more seriously. Where with this movie, it just kind of felt more zany, more cartoony, more of a joke. And yeah, I mean, I don't hate the movie, but I don't like it either. It's just something that about this movie, and maybe Fadi, who requested this review, if you like the film, that's fine. If people out there like the movie, it's, that's fine. But it's a film that just really, rewatching it again, it was just too, again, too chaotic. Is that the word? Just a little bit too zany for me. And I like the cartoon, but I don't know if really, if that's the, if that was the course they needed to take with the second movie. But that's just me. But let me get to my overall thoughts on Men in Black 2. But overall, Men in Black 2, Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith, they still have that chemistry. There's some good practical makeup effects by Rick Baker, but the tone here just felt too off the wall. Barry Sonnenfeld returns to direct, and at the end of the day, it just misses the mark compared to the first Men in Black. So that's my overall thoughts on Men in Black 2. Thank you, Fadi, for the request. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.